Pick up any carton of chicken broth from the grocery shelf. Look at the packaging. You will see words like slow simmered, hearty, home style. You will see images of golden liquid and a whole chicken sitting next to a steaming pot. It looks like something your grandmother made on a Sunday. It isn't. Most chicken broth sold in American grocery stores has never seen a real bone. What you're actually buying is factory-produced flavored water, engineered to taste like the real thing, using a handful of additives that cost a fraction of what real ingredients would. And you are paying a premium for the privilege. Americans spend over $4 billion a year on packaged broth, $4 billion flowing into an industry that has quietly replaced real cooking with chemistry. The carton in your hand might contain as little as 1 gram of protein per serving. 1 gram. That is the nutritional signature of hot water with a whisper of chicken flavor. Food Scanner audited every major brand on the shelf. 8 failed, 3 passed. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which ones to leave and which ones are worth your money. Let's scan. Before the brands, here is the playbook they all use. Because once you understand it, you will never read a broth label the same way again. To make real chicken stock, you need bones. Ideally from pasture-raised chickens, simmered for 12 to 18 hours with vegetables and water. Over that time, collagen breaks down from the connective tissue and dissolves into the liquid. That is what creates the thick, golden body of real stock. When you refrigerate real stock overnight, it turns to jelly. That is how you know it is genuine. But here is the math that changed the industry. Bones cost money. Simmering for 18 hours costs energy, labor, and facility time. A factory producing thousands of cartons per hour cannot afford to wait. So they found 3 shortcuts. First, yeast extract, a processed ingredient derived from yeast cell walls. It contains free glutamic acids, chemically identical to MSG. It delivers the savory depth that should come from hours of bone extraction, but it does it in seconds at a fraction of the cost. Second, natural flavors. The FDA allows this term for flavor compounds extracted from natural sources, but often created in a laboratory. The word natural on a food label does not mean what most people think it means. Third, sugar, cane sugar, or dextrose, added to round out the flavor and mask the hollow metallic taste of a broth that was never properly made. None of this is illegal. There is no federal standard requiring a minimum number of bones, a minimum simmer time, or a minimum collagen content. As long as the ingredients appear on the label, brands can sell you flavored water and call it chicken broth. Now you know the playbook. Here are the brands using it. Before the list, here is how you test any broth yourself in seconds. Rule 1. Count the ingredients. Real chicken broth needs 5 or 6. Water, chicken, or chicken bones, salt, maybe a few vegetables. If the list has more than 8 entries, or includes words you wouldn't find in a home kitchen, put it back. Rule 2. Look for 3 red flags: yeast extract, natural flavors, added sugar. Any of those means the manufacturer is using chemistry to simulate a flavor that should come from real bones and real time. Rule 3. The fridge test at home. Pour it in a bowl, refrigerate overnight. If it gels, real collagen, real bones. If it stays liquid, flavor concentrate and additives. Almost no major commercial brand passes this test. Now, the brands. Part 1. Brands to avoid. Brand number 8. Progresso Chicken Broth. Progresso is best known for its soups. The broth is a different story. Blind taste tests from multiple independent food publications describe it the same way. Aggressively salty to the point where any chicken flavor disappears entirely. What's left tastes more like salt water than something you'd want to cook with. Flip the carton and the ingredient list explains why. Chicken broth leads, but it's followed immediately by yeast extract and natural flavors doing the heavy lifting on taste. The sodium count runs high enough that adding this broth to a recipe and then salting to taste risks pushing the dish into inedible territory. There is no meaningful collagen content. There is no depth from real bone extraction. The color and initial aroma suggest something richer than what actually lands on the palate. That gap between expectation and reality is the signature of a broth built on shortcuts. Progresso fails on taste. The next brand fails on honesty. Brand number 7. Campbell's Chicken Broth. Campbell's owns Swanson. It also sells its own chicken broth line, and it has faced the same legal problem as the brand it owns. A class action lawsuit alleged that Campbell's no MSG added label was deceptive because the product contains yeast extract, which delivers free glutamates chemically identical to MSG. The company added a small print disclaimer noting that a small amount of glutamate occurs naturally in yeast extract. Most consumers never read the fine print. In late 2025, Campbell's faced additional public scrutiny when a leaked audio recording of a company vice president went viral online. In the recording, the executive reportedly criticized the quality of Campbell's own products. The company denied the most serious allegations, but the incident put a spotlight on internal quality concerns that had never been publicly acknowledged. The ingredient list follows the standard industry formula: chicken stock, salt, natural flavoring, yeast extract. Protein content is minimal. Sodium per serving runs high. The broth does not gel when refrigerated, which tells you everything about what it was actually made from. Campbell's hides behind labeling. The next brand hides behind a health claim it can't back up. Brand number 6. Pacific Foods Organic Chicken Broth. Pacific Foods is owned by Campbell's. The organic certification and clean packaging position it as a premium, health-conscious choice. The reality is more complicated. Multiple independent blind taste tests describe the same result: flat. The ingredient list is promising: onions, carrots, celery, rosemary extract, apple cider vinegar, all organic. But the flavor that reaches the palate is thin and hollow. Reviewers consistently describe it as warm water with too little added to make it worthwhile. The issue is not the ingredient quality, it's the process. Organic vegetables don't automatically produce deep broth flavor. That depth comes from time, from long simmering that extracts real compounds from real bones. Pacific Foods organic broth does not appear to undergo that process at a scale that produces meaningful collagen or flavor depth. You are paying significantly more for the organic certification. The premium does not translate to a meaningfully better product in the bowl. For the price Pacific Foods commands, the performance is disappointing. Organic doesn't automatically mean better. The next brand learned that lesson too late. Brand number 5. Kitchen Basics Chicken Stock. Kitchen Basics markets itself as a step above generic brands. The ingredient list contradicts that positioning. The protein content is supplemented with soy protein concentrate, an industrial additive used to inflate the number on the nutrition facts panel. That number looks better than it is because the protein isn't coming from real bone extraction. It's coming from a cheap manufacturing additive. The savory flavor is bolstered by yeast extract and monosodium glutamate, which is listed directly on the label. At least they're transparent about it. But the allergen warnings for soy and wheat make this brand unsuitable for anyone with those sensitivities, which is a significant portion of the population buying broth specifically for health reasons. You are paying a mid-tier price for a product held together by industrial additives and allergen risk ingredients. That is not a step above generic. It is a different kind of problem. Kitchen Basics inflates its numbers. The next brand inflates its entire identity. Brand number 4. Swanson Chicken Broth. Swanson is probably the most recognized name in the broth aisle. That recognition is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Their chicken broth contains chicken stock, salt, natural flavorings, yeast extract, chicken fat, cane sugar, and dried vegetables. The depth of flavor you associate with Swanson is not coming from a long, careful simmer. It is coming from yeast extract and lab-derived natural flavors working together to simulate what real bones would produce. Each 1-cup serving packs 860 milligrams of sodium, 37% of your recommended daily intake, before you even add a grain of salt to whatever you're cooking. Swanson was named in a class action lawsuit alleging that its no MSG added label was misleading because yeast extract contains free glutamates chemically identical to MSG. The lawsuit pointed out that consumers choosing Swanson to avoid MSG were not actually avoiding it. Some taste tests rank Swanson highly for flavor. That flavor is real, but it is chemistry, not craft. There is a significant difference between a broth that tastes good and a broth that is good. Swanson tastes good because the chemistry works. The next brand doesn't even get the chemistry right. First time on Food Scanner? Subscribe right now. Every week, we read the label so you don't have to. Back to the scan. Brand number 3, great value. Chicken broth, Walmart. Walmart's store brand is one of the most purchased broths in America. The ingredient list explains exactly why it's also one of the cheapest. The primary ingredient is water. The second is a chicken flavor concentrate, which is itself made of chicken and more water. Then comes yeast extract, chicken fat, potato flour as a thickener, and salt listed twice, once as salt and once as sea salt. 2 separate salt entries in the same ingredient list. Protein content, 1 gram per cup. Sodium, 830 milligrams per serving. This is a box of salted water with a suggestion of chicken flavor. There is nothing wrong with buying it, if that is all you need. But call it what it is. It is not broth. It is flavored water at broth prices, and Walmart is not pretending otherwise. The label is simply betting that most shoppers never flip the carton. Great value is honest in its dishonesty. It just doesn't tell you. The next brand claims to be something better while doing exactly the same thing. Brand number 2, College Inn chicken broth. College Inn leans heavily into heritage branding. The packaging uses language like classic and traditional. The ingredient list does not support those claims. Like most of the brands on this list, College Inn's flavor comes from the same trio of shortcuts: chicken broth base, yeast extract, and natural flavors. The sodium content runs high. The protein content is negligible, nowhere near what real bone extraction would deliver. What makes College Inn worth calling out specifically is the pricing. It sits at a price point that implies quality above the generic brands without delivering it. You are paying for heritage branding and getting the same chemistry you'd get from the store brand sitting next to it on the shelf. Traditional does not mean what the carton implies. Traditional means the formula hasn't been updated. Not that the formula was ever correct. College Inn sells nostalgia. Number 1 on the avoid list sells something even more valuable and delivers nothing. Brand number 1, collagen. Knorr selects. Knorr selects markets itself as 100% natural with no artificial flavors. Flip the carton. The ingredients read chicken broth, salt, chicken fat, natural flavors, sugar, yeast extract, and vegetable stock made from concentrates of onion, celery root, and carrot. Notice the pattern, the same trio. Yeast extract delivering the umami that should come from bones. Natural flavors filling the gaps. Sugar masking the hollow taste underneath. This is the standard industry formula wearing premium packaging. Knorr's parent company faced a class action lawsuit alleging that its no MSG claim was misleading because the yeast extract in its broth products contains free glutamates identical to MSG. The lawsuit argued that consumers deliberately choosing this product to avoid MSG were not actually avoiding it. The carton makes promises the ingredient list cannot keep. That is the most cynical move in a category full of cynical moves, because this brand specifically targets health-conscious consumers trying to make better choices. It intercepts that intention and delivers exactly what they were trying to avoid. 8 brands failed the scan, 3 didn't. Here's what honest chicken broth actually looks like. Part 2. The 3 that passed. Brand number 3. Imagine Organic Free Range. Chicken broth. Imagine Organic is a mid-tier option that does more of the right things than most brands at its price point. The ingredients are genuinely cleaner than the avoid list. Free-range chicken broth, onion, celery, carrots, garlic, sea salt, and organic spices. No yeast extract, no added sugar, no natural flavors doing the work that real ingredients should handle. Independent taste tests describe a noticeable peppery flavor, assertive and herbaceous, in a way that sets it apart from the flat saltiness of the major brands. Some tasters found it slightly too salty for their preference, but too salty from real sea salt in a real ingredient list is a fundamentally different problem than 860 milligrams of sodium propped up by yeast extract. It is not a bone broth. It will not gel when refrigerated, but at its price point, it is one of the most honest options on a standard grocery shelf. It does what it says without shortcuts. Imagine earns its spot. The next brand earns a different category entirely. Brand number 2, Kettle and Fire, chicken bone broth. Kettle and Fire was built specifically to do what the major brands won't. Real bone broth, real ingredients, no industrial shortcuts. Their chicken bone broth uses pasture-raised chicken bones simmered with organic onions, carrots, fennel, leeks, apple cider vinegar, thyme, shiitake mushrooms, bay leaves, and sea salt. Every vegetable ingredient is certified organic. There is no yeast extract, no natural flavors, and no added sugar anywhere on the label. The protein content tells you everything, 20 grams per cup. That is not a number you can fake with additives. That is collagen extracted from real bones through real time. Compare that to the 1 gram per cup delivered by most of the brands on the avoid list. The founders have resisted selling to a major food conglomerate, which means they retain full control over ingredient sourcing and production decisions. That independence matters in an industry where acquisition by a major player typically triggers a slow degradation of ingredient quality in favor of margin. It costs more. It should cost more. You are buying a fundamentally different product. Kettle and Fire is the right choice for most households. What's at number 1 is in a different class entirely. Brand number 1, Bonafide Provisions Chicken Bone Broth. Bonafide Provisions was founded by Sharon Brown, a clinical nutritionist, and her husband Reb, a professional chef. They started making bone broth because they could not find a commercial product that met their standards. That is the only reason this company exists. Their chicken bone broth contains 11 ingredients, all organic: filtered water, free-range chicken bones, carrots, celery, onion, garlic, apple cider vinegar, sea salt, thyme, bay leaf, and parsley. That is the complete list. No yeast extract, no natural flavors, no sugar, no concentrates. The broth is simmered for over 18 hours, and it is the only widely available commercial broth that consistently gels when refrigerated, a direct physical indicator of real collagen content from real bone extraction. Consumer Reports named it their top bone broth, calling it the only gelatinous option in their selection. That distinction is not a marketing claim. It is a measurable result. At around $11 for a 24-ounce bag, it is not the cheapest option on the shelf. But per gram of protein, per gram of actual collagen, per standard of ingredient honesty, it is one of the best values in the entire category. You are paying for real food. The price reflects that. Bonafide Provisions is number 1 on the Food Scanner approved list because it is the only major commercial broth that passes every test. The ingredient test, the label test, the fridge test. All 3. 8 brands failed, 3 passed. The pattern across every brand on the avoid list is identical. Real bones replaced by yeast extract. Real thyme replaced by natural flavors. Real food replaced by a chemistry experiment in a carton that costs $4 and looks like something your grandmother made. Now you have the 3 tests. Ingredient count, the 3 red flags, the fridge test. Run those on anything before you buy it, and you will never be fooled by broth packaging again. Next video, Food Scanner scans the olive oil aisle. What's happening in that category is worse than broth. Some of what's labeled pure olive oil is not olive oil at all. Subscribe so you don't miss it.